woke us up today with renewed strength and spirit to be one of the forces that creates synergy to this crime region. Sustain us, Lord. Allow us to live a healthy life so that we can fulfill the mission you have sent us to do. May we be strong and capable of doing our tasks. Grant that our minds may focus and discern before we act. Let your Holy Spirit and the hosts of heaven protect us from any harm or sickness. Only you can give and take life. Use ours to be of service to your children, so that in all things God may be glorified. These we pray in Jesus' name.
Thank you for that heartfelt prayer and that as we're reminded by God's steadfast love and that He will provide always. And to welcome all of us today, may I pass on the virtual platform to the Chief of Education of Support Services Division, Dr. Crisanto A. Esiha. Let us welcome him with a round of applause.
Good day, everyone. First and foremost, I would like to greet Wilfredo A. Cabral, our Regional Director and concurrent Undersecretary for Human Resource Organization Development, to our Assistant Regional Director, Arnoldo Imbalani, to all School Division Superintendent, School Health Personnel, and Coordinators, to all our partners, agencies, to the Presidencial personnel, once again, good day to all of us. On behalf of our Regional Director, Officer in Charge in the Secretary for Human Resource Organization Development, it is an honor to welcome you on 1 week health celebration. The Department of Education National Capital Region, through the Education Support Services Division, School Health and Nutrition Unit, will celebrate the One Health Week celebration pursuant to the PED memo entitled Schedule Suggested Activities during One Health Week celebration. The theme of the celebration, Bayanihan para sa Kalusugan o sa DepEd, sa paaralan at sa tahanan. The highlight of this One Week Health is to showcase the sa DepEd flagship program, such as the mental, dental, and nursing services, including the school dental health program, the activities, the conduct of kick-off of the Health Week, and simultaneous inauguration and opening of school medical and dental clinics, and launch of school dental health care program. The water and sanitation and hygiene wash in schools WINS program, which will showcase the conduct of webinar on the role of WINS program in time of COVID-19 pandemic. The conduct of regional lunch for school breastfeeding program, and the fourth is the adolescent reproductive health (ERH). The region will conduct regional lunch on disease ERH convergence. The convergence will be highlighted the various demand generations of Conectado Tayo campaign. It will be cascade to schools through regional and schools division offices partnership with DOH and PAPCOM as part of the health education promotion for reproductive health. The school mental health program, which will also showcase the virtual activity in the observance of World Suicide Prevention Day to promote suicide prevention awareness, suicide prevention, and to remember those affected by suicide, and to raise awareness and focus effort on directing treatment of those who need it most. The last is the National Drug Addiction Program, the NDIP, which will showcase through the webinar on strengthening the implementation of NDIP in schools. The One Health celebration will also emphasize how partnership for school health are essential to support the new school year that will remain under a new normal setup. And also, schools division offices and schools are also enjoying to show the live stream of the said activity in their respective social media pages on schedule, observing regular health standard based on latest of the Department of Health survey observed at all time. Despite possible risk, our OK sa DepEd team courageously work out to serve the learners and DepEd personnel. Of course, through the leadership, guidance, support, and inspirations of our regional director and assistant regional director for our effective and efficient delivery of services of OK sa DepEd program. Once again, to all the participants, partners, stakeholders, we thank you of all your support. Maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat. Good day, everyone. Keep safe always.
Ayan, maraming salamat din po, Chief Esiha, for emphasizing the importance of One Health Week in the OK sa DepEd flagship program. And you have worked so hard po, hindi lang para sa programang ito ng school mental health, kundi para na rin sa buong OK sa DepEd flagship program. And now to give us his message of support, let us all welcome our beloved Assistant Regional Director, Director 3, Mr. Arnulfo M. Balan.
Sa mga kawani ng kagawaran, mga magulang, mag-aaral, at sa lahat ng nagtataguyod ng isang malusog na pamayanan, magandang araw sa inyong lahat. Hindi may kakaila na napakalaking dagok ang pandemyang ating kinakarap, lalo na sa ating kabuhayan. Ngunit dapat tayo magkaisa upang kahit konti may maibsan ang ating mga pag-agam-agam sa panahon ito. Ang una nating dapat gawin ay magkaroon ng ibayong pag-iingat, lalo na sa ating kalusugan at kalusugan ng ating mga mag-aral. Ang kalusugan ng pamayanan ay nagsisimula sa tahanan. Ang ating mga kabataan ay nangangailangan ng ibayong kalinga mula sa nutrisyon hanggang sa kanilang physical at mental na pangangailangan upang lumaking may malusog at maging aktibong kalawok sa pagpapaunlad ng ating bansa. Our learners now will be the contributors for our country's development in the future. So let's start our health advocacies by focusing our energy towards educating our school and community in achieving our goal of developing healthy individuals, thereby contributing to a healthy nation. Magandang araw sa inyong lahat.
Thank you, ARD Balane, for gracing this program and for continuously supporting the activities of the School Health Nutrition Unit of the region. And as we move forward to the program proper, let us welcome our resource speaker for today, who is a doctor of medicine and a registered psychometrician, and also a member of the Philippine Mental Health Association Incorporated, Dr. Maria Dayan de Vera.
Hi, good afternoon to everyone. So my name is Diane, and I'm here to talk about a very sensitive topic that is dear to my heart. So if you want to know why it is really dear to my heart, stay with me until the end. Okay, so first, before we start, I'd like to tell you that you are not alone. So let's start. For today's agenda, we will be talking or we will be checking about how are you, how is your mental health. Next is what is mental health, the importance of mental health. Next is about suicide. Next is what are the red flags or warning signs that you should see if you are noticing that or if you know that someone is maybe thinking about doing it. Next is we will be debunking some myths regarding suicide. And last but not the least, we will know how to save a life or ways to prevent a suicide. So, first I want to ask everyone, so kamusta? How are you? So, just comment on the comment section. So, how are you doing? If you're really doing great, if you're doing pretty good, or you're just doing okay. Or maybe if you're starting to struggle, or really right now you are really having a hard time because of a lot of things are happening in the world, especially now that with this COVID pandemic, di ba? And last, if you need to reach out for support. So if you're gonna ask me kung nasan ako dito, I think I am here. I am doing pretty good naman. I'm not really doing great. I don't think so, but I am doing pretty good. Okay, so let's now define what is mental health. So according to WHO, so mental health is a state of well-being in which the individual realizes his or own abilities. He or she can cope up with the normal stresses of life, can work productively and fruitfully, and is able to make a contribution to his or her own community. So, di ba, what is the importance of mental health? So, the importance of mental health kasi, it is part of our overall well-being. Di ba? Our health is composed of physical, emotional, mental health, spiritual health, all those things. And that compose of our well-being. So, hindi natin pwedeng isantabi or ipagwalang bahala yung mental health because it is also part of our well-being. So, again, lagi ko ito sinasabi na there is no health without mental health. So, next, so what are the ways that you can really take care of yourself, especially during these uncertain times? So let me share with you some tips, self-care tips, so that we all can take care of ourselves. So first is to reach out, 'di ba? Bakit ba kailangan natin mag-reach out? Kasi hindi naman tayo, we are not meant to be alone. We are created as social beings, 'di ba? So it's really okay to ask for help, talk to your parents, talk to your significant others, talk to someone you can trust. And then be vulnerable to them, 'di ba? Sabi nga nila, find your tribe, 'di ba? Find your people, 'di ba? So, sa pictures these are my friends, my lifelong friends, 'di ba? Next is I really want to recommend you to really try this journaling if you hindi mo pa natatry. So, what I call this is brain dump. Brain dump siya in a sense na talagang sinusulat mo lang what you really feel. Diba? I like this quote from Nina Murray na sinabi niya na journaling is like whispering to oneself and listening at the same time. Ano ba? Kasi with me, my personal experience with journaling, I really like to write my own feelings, my own thoughts, especially when life gets overwhelmed. Kapag na-overwhelmed na ako and I really don't want to share my problems to my friends or to other people, I just write. Kaya nga ako, I really want a planner. I'm really such a planner girl. I want my planner na gusto ko yung planner na merong blank spaces. Because ako talaga, personality ko yung I'd like to plan my day, I like to organize my day, kung ano to, ganito. But really, ang gusto ko talaga kapag may planner ako is the blank spaces that I could really write my own thoughts and feelings. Diba? Tapos kapag binalikan ko yun, I still practice this until now. Pag binalikan mo yun, it's really just, for me, I'm just really happy na kapag binalikan ko yun, 5 years ago, ganito ka, and then ganito ka na pala ngayon, parang ganito pala yung nararamdaman ko dati, tapos now I'm feeling better. Nakakapag-look back ka lang, and then you will realize na life gets better and things get better. Diba? Kasi sometimes I am also guilty of this. We are all fixated on what lies ahead, what's on our future. Diba? We often forget na we should live here, present. I'm also guilty of this na I really like to control. I really like to plan. I really like to organize. But ako guilty ako na minsan talaga, most of the time, nakakalimutan ko na here, what I am living right now, is just my dream 5 years ago, 3 years ago. And minsan nakakalimutan ko yun. So, it's really, journaling is somehow way to check yourself na, oh, ang layo na pala ng narating mo. Ang layo na pala ng pinapangarap mo. Diba? So, next self-care tip that I can share is to do, very, very important these days, to do social media detox. Diba? So, do things that make you forget to check your phone. Diba? For me, personal experience is, hindi kami nanonood ng kapatid ko ng news sa TV. Hindi namin nilubuksan yung TV. Why? Kasi iniisip ko na nakakarinig naman kami ng news sa Facebook, sa Twitter and all, and everything in social media, di ba, nasa social media na lahat. So, ako kasi madali akong ma-overwhelm with bad news, with negativities. Parang kapag pinakinggan ko yun, nafi-fixate ako dun sa hindi na ako makafocus on what I have to do that day. So, kailangan ko magbawas. So, ako yun yung trigger ko. I know now my trigger. So, ako talaga, I make it a habit to disconnect from time to time. And that's really what I want to share. Na make it a habit to disconnect from time to time. I know this is really hard because lahat na ng work natin, especially now that we're in the pandemic, lahat ng work, lahat ng academics, way to connect and communicate with our loved ones, with our friends, lahat, di ba, nasa internet na, lahat gamit ang phone, gamit ang gadget. So, ikaw, kapag nafe-feel mo ay, nakaka-feel ka na ng negative emotions, parang ito na, parang nakaka-feel ka na ng hindi maganda towards what you see, what you hear, that's the point, di ba? That's your trigger point na, parang pause, kailangan ko muna ng, maybe kahit hindi mo kaya ng isang araw because of you have a lot of responsibilities to do, but maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes of your time, but do things that make you forget to check your phone. For example, talk to your parents, di ba? Talk to your siblings. Kausapin mo yung mga tao sa bahay, imbis na kinakausap mo yung screen. Di ba? Lalo ngayon, especially now that we are all at home. Most of us are all at home, di ba? Nurture, nurture your relationship with your family, di ba? With your parents. Play with your pet. Di ba? Maghalaman ka if plantita ka or plantito ka, di ba? Just really, kahit 5 minutes, 10 minutes yan, just do a social media detox if nararamdaman mo na na-overwhelm ka na. Next is to create a self-care checklist. So ano ba yung self-care, di ba? Yung self-care is composed of physical, emotional, social, and of course, spiritual. Hindi pwedeng mawala yung spiritual sa self-care natin. So, we all know that yung pinoportray ng media is fancy, na kailangan mag-travel ka, kailangan may scented candles ka before you sleep, kailangan may music ka kapag naliligo ka. It's really not. For me, it's really not. For me, self-care is more on really checking yourself. For example, ito physical. If you are, maybe if you're sleeping past 12 midnight, you can go 11 p.m. or earlier than that. Physical exercise, especially now that we all have to stay healthy. Diba? Kailangan natin magpalakas ng katawan, drink your vitamins. That's for self-care. Diba? If you are eating food, healthy food, bawas ng taba, bawas ng baboy, more on gulay at prutas, that's also a form of self-care. diba? When it comes to emotional, setting boundaries. Diba? Hindi naman laging pwedeng yes ka ng yes to everyone, diba? You have to create your own boundary, diba? Show compassion, empathy to others, diba? Hindi judgmental. Diba? Ayaw natin maging ganun. Social, diba? Talk to your friends, communicate, ask them how they are doing, especially now na hindi natin nakikita yung isa't isa, diba? And spiritual, how do you spend your time alone? Diba? What do you do in the morning? The first thing you wake up. That's also a form of self-care, diba? Reflection, meditation, diba? Next is read uplifting quotes, diba? Pumuso to sa Facebook, yung law of attraction kind of thing na kunyari, mayroon ako nabasa na kunyari gusto niyang, no, eto, si Pia Wurtzbach, di ba? When she was gonna compete for the third time in Miss Universe, di ba, inano niya yun, tweet niya yun, na parang sabi niya na, kalma lang kayo, ate ng corona, parang babawi ako sa ate ng corona sa Miss Universe. And then months after, it became a reality. So for that, it's really what you think is what you become. Diba? Sabi nga dito ni Oprah, think like a queen. A queen is not afraid to fail. Failure is just another stepping stone to greatness. That's really true. Next is love yourself. So, sabi nga ni Justin Bieber, love yourself. So, I know most of us, this is really easier said than done, di ba? Madaling sabihin pero mahirap gawin. Kasi parang ang sarili natin, tayo yung worst critic of ourselves, di ba? So for me, I'd like to tell you that start small. For example, in the morning, sabihin mo lang to na, syempre sa salamin lang, di ba? Ikaw lang mag-isa. Baka pag may nakarinig, sabihin, wala ba ito ka nakausap sa sarili? But talking to yourself, science and study shows that talking to yourself is an intelligent way. So hindi ka walang masama sa iyo kung kinakausap mo yung sarili mo. It's really a healthy way, di ba? So for example, ito daily affirmations mo in the morning. So kahit na feeling mo ang daming trabaho, pagod ka na, araw-araw na lang ganito, kailan ba matatapos, and all those worries and anxieties, sabihin mo to, for example, I am strong, I am brave, I am worthy, I am accepted, and I am loved. Diba? It's really, sinasabi mo sa sarili mo, positive self-talk, diba? Instead of negative self-talk na, ang hirap, ano ba to, I'm not worthy, hindi naman ako capable, bakit ako nilagay dito? Negate it. Diba? Turn it to positive para yung buong araw mo is really will change 360 degrees. So, ito, I really like this quote na the unexamined life is not worth living. Diba? So, bakit ba? Bakit kaya? Bakit kaya yung the unexamined life is not worth living? So, I think kasi, in order to love ourselves, diba, we must accept criticisms from other people. Kasi even if you think that you are the smartest, you are the most kindest, you are the most compassionate person here on earth, meron pa rin tayong negative side. May darkness tayo. All of us have darkness inside us. So in order to accept the yin, we must also accept the yang. Diba? So hindi pwedeng ang makikita mo lang sa sarili mo is lahat ng good qualities mo. That's not possible, diba? In order to go on life, in order to grow, you have to accept criticisms. Diba? And we will not grow kung puro lang positive lang yung nakikita mo, yung gusto mong makita sa'yo ng tao. Hindi naman yun nangyayari sa totoong buhay, di ba? Because sometimes accepting criticisms can also be a blessing. Di ba? Sabi nga nila, di ba, ang magsasabi lang sa'yo ng totoo is yung talagang nakakakilala sa'yo. Di ba? Yung totoo mong kaibigan. Kasi kapag yung kaibigan mo, hindi ka sinasabihan ng, oh, parang, friend, parang mali itong ginawa mo kanina. I don't like the way you respond to it. I don't like the way you react to it. Parang aggressive, parang medyo violent. That's not really you. Kapag sinasabihan ka ng ganun, accept it. Treasure these people na kaya kang sabihan ng ganun. Kasi konti lang yun. Diba? Bakit ba nila sinasabi sa'yo to? Why are they trying to correct you? Because, of course, they love you. And when you love someone, platonic yan or hindi, kahit hindi yan romantic, when you love someone, may magkakaroon ka ng malasakit. And underneath the malasakit, you want the person to change. Diba? For the better. Kapag nakikita mo na ganito na yung ugali niya and gusto mo siyang magbago, gusto mo siyang mag-change for the better, sasabihin mo kung ano yung nakikita mo. Kasi hindi naman natin lahat tayo sa sarili natin. Hindi naman natin nakikita yung negative side natin. That's the truth. Diba? Unless sabihin ng ibang tao. Yun. Pero most of us, nahihirapan i-accept yun. But I think accepting is big part na minsan makaka-question ka na, oo nga, no, baka ganun ako. That's the first step. Diba? Accepting. And next is, kapag nangyari ulit yung ganong scenario, diba, hindi na ganun yung magiging reaction mo. Diba? If they don't correct you, if your tribe or your people don't correct you, they are not your true friends. Diba? And we cannot just grow kapag hindi ka nakikriticize or wala sa yung nasasabi na you change. Diba? So I don't really believe that people don't change. Diba? I really believe that people can change for the better. Because siguro people think that people cannot change or people don't change kasi they don't put the work on it. But changing for the better is really a hard work. Hard work yan. Kasi kung every day that you want to change for the better, you have to work on yourselves every single day. You have to show up every single day. But you have to fight. You have to fight your own demons. It's really a hard work. Na kapag, for example, I'll give a scenario na wala kang disiplina sa gumising ng umaga. Hindi ka talaga magbabago kung hindi mo babaguhin yung routine mo. If hindi ka mag-change na ganito, kailangan may gawin akong system para magising ako. Hindi ka talaga magbabago if hindi ka gumawa ng sistema. But, if you try to make a system and make it a habit and follow it every single day, then you'll change. Diba? For the better. Diba? That's really hard about changing and loving yourself. Kasi kapag gusto mong baguhin yung sarili mo at gusto mong mahalin yung sarili mo, you have to put on the hard work. It's every day you have to practice. Diba? Hanggang sa mapunta na lang siya sa sistema mo and hindi mo na lang malaya na, oh, this is what I'm really doing. Diba? Nasasanay na yung katawan mo. Diba? Science says that if you want to start a habit, start it from first 21 days. So, kayo, na nahihirapan kayo, baka some of you are struggling to make a habit or struggling to change, kahit ano man yan sa sarili mo, try mo. Kahit, for example, wala kang masulat, just try at least for 5 minutes. Stay ka lang, sinusulat mo. And then, hindi mo mamamalayan, nakakapagsulat ka na pala. Oh, may 10 minutes na pala. 1 hour na pala ako nagsusulat. Diba? So, next. So, ito nga yun, diba? The real difficulty is to overcome how you think about yourself. Katulad ng sinabi ko kanina, na ang pinakamahirap talaga na kalaban ay yung sarili natin. Why? Because we are our own worst critics. Diba? Tayo yung sobrang makapag-negative view ng self, tayo yung sobra tayong magigitin yung sarili natin. Bakit ako nandito? Hindi ko naman ito kaya. I'm not good at this. I'm not really qualified to do this. Why am I here? Bakit kailangan kong gawin to? Bakit ba ako nag-aaral? Bakit ba ako nagtatrabaho? Bakit ko ba kailangan tapusin kung pag-aaral ko? May future pa ba? Diba? And things like that. So katulad din sinabi ko kanina, diba? About loving yourself. Change this. We have to practice this every single day. Now you have to talk to yourself in a positive way. Diba? Recite your affirmations, daily affirmations that you are beautiful, you are strong, you can overcome this. Diba? In simple ways like that can really uplift our well-being and can really uplift our souls. Diba? And we will start to feel joy sa atin, sa sarili natin. Kasi if we want to love others, before we love others, you should first love yourself first unconditionally. I know this is really a cliche. Lagi nyo na itong naririnig. Diba? But it's really true. You cannot really love others unless you love yourself first. Diba? The way you give yourself, you give your love, your affirmations, your affection to others, the same way na deserve din ng sarili mo yun. Kung ano yung binibigay mo sa ibang tao, bigay mo muna sa sarili mo. And then, from there, makakapagbigay ka na ng joy to everyone you meet, to your loved ones, because they can feel. They can feel from the inside that you yourself are overflowing with love. And when your cup overflows, it really shows. Diba? And kapag hindi, diba, meron nga silang sinabi na hurt people hurt people. That's really true. Na your face, kahit na sabihin mo na, sabihin mo sa kanila na, hindi, I'm okay. But your face cannot lie. Diba? That's the only way of others. And that joy that you feel inside will multiply. Diba? Parang domino effect na. So next, diba, I told you kanina when we are about to start that this topic that I will talk is really close to my heart. So sabihin ko na ngayon kung bakit close to my heart. To be honest, I really had a hard time creating this talk or preparing for this talk. Kasi kapag naiisip ko yung when I'm working on this, I feel really emotional because I lost a friend to suicide. Diba? Last 2014, and even though years had passed, bumabalik pa din yung feelings na I lost a friend, and I know a lot of people close to my heart na nag-struggle dito with suicidal thoughts and ideations. I had a really close friend that I lost to suicide. That's why this past few days, I'm really praying, Lord God, give me wisdom to really finish this talk without getting teary-eyed or emotional. Diba? Kasi naiisip ko yung kaibigan ko that I lost. So what is suicide? So first, let's first define what is suicide. So suicide is a desperate attempt to escape suffering that has become unbearable. So suicide is blinded by feelings of self-loathing, hopelessness, wala ng pag-asa, and isolation. Hiniwalay nila yung sarili nila. Diba? A suicidal person cannot see a way of finding relief except through death. Wala silang maisip na ibang solusyon at the moment, kundi just to escape, just to, I wanna, kapag namatay, tapos na lahat ng ito. Diba? Sinabi na desperate at diba? Ito yung mga iniisip ng suicidal people. So did you know that according to WHO, this is according to them, nito lang, na June 17, 2021, that suicide is this is the fourth leading cause of death in 15 to 19 years old. Globally to ha, and this is not just a problem in high income countries. This is most common in low to middle income countries. Kasama dyan yung Pilipinas. Diba? So every suicide is a tragedy. Trahedya to na nakaka-apekto ng families, ng friends, ng community na naiiwan behind. Diba? This is really a very sensitive topic. So trigger warning lang. Nakalimutan ko kanina sabihin before we start na baka some people are listening with suicidal ideations. So this is really a trigger warning. I'm sorry if I forgot to say it before we start. It's really a sensitive topic. Diba? And this is really alarming. Kasi when you look up, this is 15 to 19 years old. These are our teens. Diba? Itong mga nagsasuffer na to, 15 to 19 years old. Teens to. High school. High schoolers to college. Diba? Most of them. And we are losing lives. Diba? Every 1 minute, every 40 seconds, every 40 seconds, we lose a life. We lose a person for suicide. Every 40 seconds. Imagine that. So let's now go to red flags for ano ba yung mga dapat mong makita? Or kapag nakita mo ba to, ano yung dapat mong gawin? Diba? Ito yung mga warning signs na pwede mong makita. Pwede in your family, kapag mayroong suicide ideations or balak mag-suicide. Ito yung mga warning signs that you should look out for. Why this is important? Because kapag nalaman mo yung warning signs, you can save a life by knowing this. So it's really important to notice the red flags. So, next. First is isolation or feeling alone. So, kapag sinabi sa'yo na walang nakakaintindi sa akin, mag-isa lang naman ako, or ina-isolate niya na yung sarili niya, this is the first. Diba? Warning sign na mapapaisip ka na baka may plano siya, na baka naiisip niya na mag-suicide. Next is feeling or statements of hopelessness. Namin yan ngayon na parang nawala ng trabaho, nawala ng kabuhayan, hirap na hirap sa financial issues. Paano babayaran yung bahay, paano magpapaaral ng anak. Diba? And kapag tinanong nila na ano pa ba ang point ng buhay na to, kailan pa ba ito matatapos, hanggang kailan pa ba ako maghihirap, hanggang kailan pa ba itong pandemyang to. Ito yun, this is also one of the warning signs that you should look out for. especially now, na talagang ang daming naghihirap, ang daming nagsa-struggle, di ba? Lalo almost 2 years na, mag-almost sa March next year. So magto 2 years na tayo nasa pandemic. So talagang yung financial burdens ng lahat, nagpapatong-patong lang. Diba? So ano pag narinig mo na ano pa bang point ng buhay na to? Paano ko mapakainin yung mga anak ko? Paano ba ako makakapag-aral? Pahirap lang ako sa magulang ko. Maybe kapag nawala ako, nababawasan yung gastos nila and things like that, that's a red flag. Aggressiveness and irritability. Diba? Kapag ito yung mga bagay na nagsusweat into small stuff na kapag maliit lang na bagay na irita. It's also one of the sign na kapag sinabi na, iwanan mo ako, leave me alone, or when someone becomes aggressive, violent, nagiging violent na, nag-mood swings. Kanina, sobrang saya, tapos bigla na lang sobrang mangkigigil, sobrang maiirita, sobrang magagalit, magsisisigaw. That's also a red flag. Next is negative view of self. So yun, yung sinasabi na wala akong kwenta, I'm not good enough, konti lang yung likes ko sa social media ko, I'll never get better, I'm not competent, ang tanga-tanga ko, ang bobo ko, bakit ganun yung nasabi ko, bakit ganito yung score ko, bakit ganito, bakit ang pangit ko, bakit ang dami kong pimples. Siguro kaya ganun yung tingin niya sa akin, galit siya sa akin. Bakit wala akong magawang mabuti? Bakit wala akong magawang maganda? These things. Those are the negative view of self. Diba? Next, frequently talking or writing about death. Diba? Medyo ito alarming na, diba? Kapag sinabi niya na sa'yo na, kuy, kapag ba namatay ako, mamimiss mo ko. Or pwede rin yung pinapamigay niya na yung mga gamit niya. Yung mga possessions niya na, kapag nawala ako, gusto ko ikaw ang gagamit nito Or kapag naghahabilin na, diba? That's also a red flag. Self-harming behaviors. So ito, kapag hinarma nila yung sarili nila, nag-cut, nag-take ng pills, nag-try na mag-jump ng tumalon, kung saan mataas. These are self-harming behaviors that you should look out for. I want to emphasize that reaching out for help is a really brave thing to do. You are not alone, and if you are really struggling right now, if you're listening to this and you are struggling right now to cut yourself, or pinag-iisipan mo na gusto mo nang matapos to, gusto mong saktan yung sarili mo, don't, and please reach out for help. Ask for help. Diba? It may be a bad day, it may be a bad days, there may be a bad weeks, or months even, or years dahil sa pandemic nito. We are all struggling, diba, to stay sane during these times of uncertainty, during these times of global pandemic. But I'm here to tell you that you are not alone. And everyone, hindi lang ikaw, ako din, lahat tayo, halos lahat tayo, we're all struggling, diba, with our own. We just need to reach out, ask for help, diba? Do not be alone. Do not carry your cross alone. Diba? Hindi magandang i-share. Hindi magandang sarilihin mo lang ang problema mo. Share it. Share it to other people. Diba? Para mag-lessen yung burden sa'yo, gumaan yung pakiramdam mo, and huwag mong isipin na dala-dala mo yung mundo. Diba? Take life one day at a time. Diba? Next is social withdrawal. Ito na kapag nanonotice mo na, nakikita mo na sa tao na wala na siyang kanang kausap, nagde-deactivate na yan ng social media, hindi mo na siya makita, hindi mo na ma-reach yung cellphone, hindi mo na matawagan. Diba? It's red flag. So kapag ganito, mag-reach out ka na dun sa family and friends niya. Diba? Ask how is this person doing? Kamusta yung taong to? Kamustahin mo lang. And really be empathic and tell this person that you are always here. You're always available. Kahit anong oras, pwede kanyang tawagan. Diba? Next is, another red flag is feeling trapped. Ano ba yung mga nafe-feeling, sino-sino ba yung mga tao na ganito yung naramdaman? Na feeling nila, hanggang dito lang sila, trapped sila. Kumbaga sa box, nandito lang sila, hindi sila makaalis. Sino-sino ba itong mga taong to? For example, namatayan ka. Hindi mo alam kung paano maka-move on or paano mag-grief. Grief properly. Pwede. Pwedeng hopelessness, depression, sadness, anxiety, um, other people who are dealing with mental issues, mental health problems, post-traumatic disorders, trauma, abuse, pwedeng physical, pwedeng emotional, pwedeng mental. We don't know, di ba? Especially now na lahat tayo nasa bahay. We don't know what's really happening inside everyone's house. Di ba? Maybe yung iba na-trap dun sa parents na abusive. Di ba? Pwedeng kaya gusto nilang mag-suicide kasi the only way to get out of these abusive parents, the only way to be escape, the only way na alis ako dito is when I die. Pwedeng ganun yung isip nila. Diba? Ayoko na dito sa bahay na to. So the only way that I can go out to this house is just to die. Pwede yun, di ba? Nahihirapan sila eh. Hindi nila ma-express properly yung emotions nila. So for them, the easy way out is just to die. It's just to commit suicide. Diba? Next is those people that are possessing lethal means. Ano-ano ba to? Pwedeng pills, pwedeng mga medications, kahit hindi not related na pills na para mamatay sila. Maybe just pills, medications na pwede nilang makuha and just to overdose. Diba? Sharp objects like knife, scissors, weapons. Diba? May mga ganito yung mga suicidal persons. Lagi lang nasa tabi nila. Blades. Diba? Na pwede nilang ma-reach. May mga ganyan. May mga ganyan yung suicidal persons. Next is feeling like a burden to others. Ito yung related kanina sa feeling trapped. Diba? Kapag nafe-feel nila na pabigat na lang sila and you would be better off without me kapag narinig mo yung salita na mas less yung gastos, wala nang gastos yung magulang ko. Diba? Hindi na mahihirapan yung mga anak ko. Diba? Kapag ganyan, it's also a red flag. Diba? So the fact that you are struggling doesn't mean that you are a burden. It does not make you unlovable or undesirable or undeserving of care. It doesn't make you too much or too sensitive or too needy. It makes you human. Diba? We are all human. We are all human beings and we are all capable of feeling this positive and negative emotion. And that's normal. It's just part of life. And everyone struggles. Diba? Everyone has a difficult coping, and at times we all fall apart, and that's also okay. But during these times, we aren't always easy to be around, and that's okay. No one is easy to be around 100% of the time. So just keep going, carry on. Diba? The fact that you are still here, the fact that you are still alive, God has still God has still a purpose for you, a plan for your life. Diba? Hindi pa siya tapos sa buhay mo. You just have to keep going. And keep trusting Him. Keep trusting your Creator that things will get better. And I promise that life gets better. Diba? Next, we will now go to some myths to debunk. Diba? Hashtag break the stigma. So we are here to debunk some myths regarding suicide. Diba? Let's now break the stigma. So are you ready? So ready na? Okay, let's begin. So, myth. Suicide only affects individuals with a mental health condition. So that's not true. Kasi, in fact, many individuals with mental illness are not affected by suicidal thoughts. Diba? For example, yung mga may PTSD or personality disorders, diba? Hindi naman sila affected ng suicidal thoughts. And not all people who attempted or died by suicide have mental illness. That's the fact. Kasi hindi naman lahat ng namamatay may mental illness. Diba? Most of the time, diba? I said earlier na ito lang yung nakikita nilang way out, escape. Ito lang nakikita nilang route para mawala na yung mga problema nila. Next myth. Once an individual is suicidal, he or she will always remain suicidal. That's not true. In fact, itong suicidal ideations are just short-term and situation-specific lang siya. Diba? Hindi yan nagtatagal ng matagal or ng taon. Diba? Next, most suicide happen without warnings. That's not true, di ba? Sinabi ko kanina yung red flags. That's our dogs. So, pagpasensyahan niyo na po kapag may narinig kayo, that's our dogs barking. So, in fact, warning signs. Di ba kanina yung red flags? Those are the warning signs that you should look out for. Pwedeng verbally, behaviorally, bago mangyari yung suicide. So, meron muna yung may proseso yan, may warning signs yan, may red flags yan, na makikita mo. Oops, parang may plano siya, parang bakit ganito yung mga sinasabi niya? Bakit ganito yung behavior niya? Mapapaisip ka ng ganon. Before, bago yan mag-commit. Next, people who die by suicide are selfish and take the easy way out. That's not true. Kasi most people die of suicide because they just want to end their pain and suffering. Diba? Ito lang yung nakikita nila. Na kapag nawala na ako, wala nang burden. Na kapag nawala na ako, wala nang pain, wala nang suffering. Diba? Diba? People do not die by suicide because they do not want to live. In fact, itong mga tao na may suicidal ideations, they're really contemplating. Magulo pa isip niya, hindi yan decided na gusto ko na mamatay. Di ba? Lahat tayo parang natatakot tayo na saktan yung sarili natin. Takot din sila. Believe me, they're really afraid. But because these people die by suicide, mainly because they just want to end their pain and suffering. That's a fact. Next is talking about suicide will lead and encourage suicide. That's not true. Ang totoo is talking about suicide not only reduces the stigma but also allows the individual to seek help, rethink, their opinions, and share their stories with others. Na kapag sinishare mo yung storya mo to other people who are also struggling with the same issues, with the same problem, they're in a way empowering them eh. Ini-empower mo yung sarili mo at nakaka-empower ka din ng other people who are struggling with the same issues. Di ba na parang sinasabi mo na, I am not alone. I'm not alone suffering. I am not alone. Na nararamdaman din pala to. May karamay pala ako. Hindi lang pala ako yung ganito yung nararamdaman during these times. Diba? Next, this is really the important or the highlight of our talk today is ways to prevent suicide. So by knowing this, you will be able to save a life. Diba? It is really important to know the warning signs. Diba? Yung sinabi natin kanina na red flags. Diba? So yan, suicide warning signs. Diba? Most suicidal individuals give warning signs or signals of their intentions. The best way to prevent suicide is to recognize these warning signs and know how to respond if you spot them. Kapag nakikita mo na to, let them know that you are present. Let them know that you are always here. Na meron lang silang suporta. Na kapag nararamdaman nila to, they are not alone. Diba? Next is, be a good listener. Diba? Wag mong sasabihin sa suicidal person na, ano ba yan? Bakit mo ba yan gagawin? Parang, don't be a judgmental person. Hindi nila yung gusto. Ang kailangan ng mga may suicidal ideations, first is an empathic listener. Makikinig lang sa kanila. Kahit na hindi ka magsalita just be a good listener. Just make them feel na nandito ka, na meron silang laging malalapitan. Diba? Na meron silang kapamilya, may kaibigan sila, may kapatid sila. That they are not suffering alone. That they are not alone. Diba? And gently ask them about suicidal feelings. What triggers them? Bakit nila naiisip yun? Anong problema? Those things. Next is don't leave them alone. This is really important. Especially kapag meron na silang mga little means. Don't leave them alone. Diba? Huwag mo silang iiwan, lalo na kapag pakiramdam mo na meron talaga silang suicidal ideations. Na feeling mo anytime pwede yung mag-commit ng suicide. Don't leave them alone. Diba? Next is to look at suicide as a cry for help. Diba? Take any suicidal thought or behavior seriously. Balik tayo dun sa first way to prevent suicide. Know the warning signs. Not just knowing the warning signs, but also take this seriously. Diba? Actually, knowing the warning signs, that's really the basis. That's really the mother. That's really the root of all these ways to prevent a suicide from happening. Because when you know the warning signs and when you notice it, makakagawa ka ng appropriate action. Diba? And I want to clarify that you just hindi mo siya pwedeng alamin lang, in a sense. You have to really take this seriously. Diba? Hindi mo pwedeng sabihin na, maarte lang yung batang yan. Hindi. Tamad lang yan. Diba, nag-iinarte lang yan. Ganyan naman talaga yung kapatid kong yan eh. Ganyan naman talaga yan. Hindi yun. Bakit yung mag-suicide? You don't know what these people, these suicidal people are thinking. Maybe, for some, ganun talaga, hindi siguro, hindi nila gagawin. But most of the time, these are cry for help na. This is alarming. Diba? Take it seriously. Hindi mo lang pwedeng sabihin na nag-iinarte lang yan, malungkot lang yan, bukas okay na yan. Masama lang talaga ugali niyan kaya ganyan. Kapag nakikita mo na aggressive na yung behavior, look deeper. Diba? Kasi really, by just knowing those warning signs, you can save a life. Next is secrets can kill. What do I mean by this? When a suicidal person tells you na, friend, ano may sasabihin ako sa'yo pero wag kong sasabihin sa iba. Kasi I really trust you and ganyan. Can you promise me that you won't tell others? Don't promise them. Don't tell them that you won't tell anybody. Especially kapag may suicidal ideation sila. Why? Why? Because, again, secrets can kill. Diba? Kapag sinikreto mo yan, at nag-commit yan ng suicide, anytime, or the night, or the morning after, mabigat yan sa'yo. It's on you. And what's scary is, baka hindi mo mapatawad yung sarili mo. And you will just blame yourself. With all the guilt, na sana sinabi ko, what ifs. Na kapag may sinabi sa'yo, so, di ba, mahirap magdala ng guilt all your life. So if you know someone or if your friend tells you na meron siyang ganitong plano, na kapag ayan na, inisa-isa niya na yung plano niya sa'yo, sabihin mo agad sa pamilya niya, sabihin mo agad sa malapit sa kanya na ganito po yung plano. Sabihin mo lahat. Because by telling them, you will also save a life. Diba? So really, secrets can kill. So, kapag sinarili mo lang yan, and balik tayo kanina sa previous slide na take any suicidal thought or behavior seriously. Diba? Kasi baka sinabi niya na sa'yo yung plano niya and i-execute na nga yan later on, hindi mo sinabi. Diba? Yun yung iniiwasan natin. Next is to remove potential means of suicide. Sinabi na natin kanina, ito warning signs din to. Na kapag meron ka nakitang sharp objects, guns, pills, or anything that can be used as in a suicide attempt, layo mo sa kanya. Layo mo to, itago mo to, itapon mo, sabihin mo sa parents, sa family, sa friends, yung kakilala mo na yon, na ito po, nakita ko po ganito sa tabi ng kama niya or sa tabi ng bedside table niya, or nakaipit po somewhere, nasa bag niya lang, knives, scissors, blades, tapon mo, ilayo mo. And, syempre, ipaalam mo din dun sa mga malapit sa kanya, dun sa immediate family or friends, yung mga nakita mo, so that, aware din sila, diba, kung ano yung gagawin nila. Next, is to continue your support over the whole. Hindi lang pwedeng sabihin mo na you're always there, pero hindi pag kinausap ka or kapag nakapag-communicate sa'yo, hindi ka naman ma-reach, hindi ka naman available. Diba? Kapag sinabi mo na you'll always be here, na nandito lang ako parate, pwede mo akong lapitan any time of the day. Mean it. Diba? Kasi these people, kailangan lang talaga nila ng support. They just need someone or somebody to talk to listen to them. And your presence can really mean a lot to them. Malayo mararating yung suporta mo. Malayo mararating yung just by being present in that moment. Diba? Next is encourage positive lifestyle changes. For example, getting sunlight, getting everyday vitamin D from the sun. Diba? Kapag nakakuha ka ng sunlight in the morning, it will really boost your mood and it will really affect kung paano mo harapin yung araw. Diba? Eat healthy. Diba? Positive lifestyle changes, physical, getting enough sleep, making time for work, for leisure activities, diba? For movie time. That's also self-care. That's also encouraging positive lifestyle changes. By being disciplined, by being intentional on your time, on your day, that's positive lifestyle changes. Diba? Emotional. For example, emotional, setting boundaries, like what I said kanina, communicating properly, not reacting negatively or violently, aggressively when someone tries to make a criticism to you, or kapag may pumuna sa'yo ng masamang ugali mo, don't be aggressive. Diba? Breathe in and out before you react or before you say something. Diba? Mentally, I would recommend journaling. Every day, try to write 5 things. Just 5 things you are grateful for. Diba? Every day, try to write it. Diba? You are alive, you are healthy, your family is healthy, you have work, you are studying to become a better person. Diba? You are the hope of this nation. You are doing that because you are studying, you are working, because you are the hope of this nation. Diba? Your pets are healthy, you have a roof, you have a food in your table. That's a lot. There's always something to be grateful for. Diba? Spiritual changes. Are you spending your time alone with God? How's your spiritual health? That's also positive lifestyle changes, di ba? Na baka nagsa-struggle ka with mental problems, with mental issues, baka na-try mo na yung medical route, na-try mo na yung psychotherapy route, na-try mo na yung talk therapy, na-try mo na yung mag-journal, na-try mo na mag-yoga, na-try mo na mag-exercise. You've exhausted everything. But then, wala pa rin nag-work. Try checking your spiritual health. Especially now, with these uncertain times, it's really important to communicate with our Creator and to spend more time with Him. Kasi binigyan niya na tayo ng oras to spend time with Him. Next is practice gratitude. Diba? Ano ba yung gratitude? It is a quality of being thankful, readiness to show appreciation, and to return kindness. Diba? Ito yung sinasabi ko kanina na we should practice gratitude. Yung 5 things, write 5 things that you are grateful for. That's one way of practicing gratitude. By being kind to the waiters around you, to the bus drivers around you, to the delivery riders, food delivery, nagdi-deliver ng pagkain mo, ng parcels mo sa Shopee or Lazada, kahit mainit, umulan, umaraw, by offering water, offering food, just these little acts of kindness. That's also one way of practicing gratitude. Diba? Start at home. For example, being thankful to your parents, being just there. Diba? Simulan mo sa bahay. Simulan mo sa sarili mo. Let them know that you appreciate all their thoughts, their efforts, and be able to return kindness to everyone you meet. Diba? To practice joy. Next, last but not the least, is to know His Word. Diba? I really like this Bible verse. I will read that. Do not let your hearts be troubled. Believe in God. Believe also in me. In my Father's house are many dwelling places. If it were so, I would have told you, for I go to prepare a place for you. If I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you myself, that where I am, there you may be also. That's from John 14, verses 1 to 3. I really like this verses. It really speaks to me, especially now that we're all troubled and we don't know what lies ahead. Marami sa atin na nahihirapan kung paano talaga ba mag-cope na itong pandemic na to, kailan ba ito matatapos? Bakit ba ang daming kaso? Bakit nagsisurge? Nag-face mask at face shield naman ako, bakit ganito? Hindi naman ako lumalabas ng bahay, bakit di pa rin natatapos? And all those things. But when you know His Word, and you meditate on His Word, and you know that God is in control, and when you know that God, everything that God's, everything that is in His control is never out of His control, you will have peace in your heart. Diba? Na when you realize that God will come again, and this place is really not our home. We are just travelers. We are just, nag-journey lang tayo sa buhay na to, and this is not our home. When you realize that, you will have peace in your heart. That whatever happens, I know that I will be with my Father, and I will be with Jesus someday in heaven. And I want to tell you that our days are numbered. Even the hairs, our hairs are numbered. Why? To make our days worthwhile. It's okay to rest. It's okay to feel overwhelmed at times. But we are here. You are here. You are still here because your Creator is not yet done with you. Your Creator is not yet finished with you. Diba? And you should not worry, or you should not You should not worry about all these things that will happen in the future. You should not question yourself because your Creator loves you perfectly, deep, deeply, unconditional, and you cannot measure that. And by knowing that God's love you deeply, perfectly, unconditionally, you'll have peace in your heart. Diba? And if you are one of those people that is struggling, maybe you're thinking to end your life, maybe you're thinking that itong may iwan mo na to, they would be better off without me. I'm here to tell you, and this is your sign that you are not alone and that God is with you always until the end of time. And I just want to tell you that you are very brave for overcoming this, for surviving this, for showing up every day, for being alive, for breathing. You know, every breath is a gift from God. Every breath we take, every inhale, every exhale, it's really from Him. And now that a lot of people are dying, and we are all dying because of COVID, dying because of other illnesses, really this pandemic made me realize how short our life is, and that we should not take every day or every second wasted. Diba, may biglang namamatay, may biglang nagka-COVID na isang araw, namatay na agad kinabukasan. Sa tingin mo ba, yung mga taong yun, naisip pa ba nila yung mga ari-arian nila? Naisip pa ba nila yung likes nila sa social media? No. No. And we don't know kung kailan ito matatapos. Yes. But we should just focus on the things that we can control. On how our day will go, what our reactions will be, how are we gonna spend this day? How are we gonna spend this week, this month that is given to us? We cannot control the government. Kahit pa anong sabihin natin sa kanila, we cannot. We have no power to control them. Na kahit na ganito yung gusto kong mangyari, we cannot. And we have to accept it. So just focus on the things that you have control. How you will spend your mornings, how to make yourself productive, how to set boundaries to take a rest. How are you nurturing your relationship? First with God, with your family members, with your circle. How are you as a professional? How are you as a student? How can you improve as a human being? That's the things that we can control. and the rest, we have to leave it to God. We have to let God work. We have to surrender. Diba? So I'd like to end this. You can screenshot this or you can save this on your phones, your gadgets. Maybe someday, sana naman no hindi, but if someday someone will need it, you have this. Diba? This is the National Center for Mental Health Crisis Hotline. So ito yung 0917 899 USAP, which is 8727. Or landline, you can call them by 989-8727. Diba? It's free. It's confidential. So hindi mo kilala yung makakausap mo. So kung ayaw mong i-share sa friend mo, sa family mo, sa kaibigan mo, friend, family, your significant other, ayaw mo rin mag-journal, you just want someone to talk to, try this. It is free. It is a haven for those in mental health crisis. So, help is here. You are enough and you are not alone, diba, in this struggle. So with that, maraming salamat and hanggang sa muli.
Ayan. This is timely po. Lalo na at ngayon ay World Suicide Prevention Day. Thank you so much, Ms. Dayan, for your talk and for emphasizing the importance of everyone's mental health that will truly help our students, parents, and syempre sa lahat po na nanonood sa atin ngayon. With that, tutulungan po natin ang bawat isa who are struggling mentally and emotionally. And for that, the Republic of the Philippines Department of Education National Capital Region presents the Certificate of Appreciation to Maria Dayan D. De Vera for her sharing her expertise as resource speaker on the topic Suicide Prevention for Teens and Parents, Value of Life, Better Decisions and Support, given this 10th day of September 2021, DepEd NCR Bagubantay, Quezon City, signed by Wilfredo E. Cabral, Regional Director, DepEd NCR, and Officer in Charge, Office of the Undersecretary, Human Resource and Organizational Development. And in observance po of the World Suicide Prevention Month, which is today, September 10, 2021, let us watch this recorded video and virtual conversation on suicide prevention with Mr. Gian Adao of BLSS School Health Division, Dr. Agnes Casino of the National Center for Mental Health, Dr. Dina Nadera of Foundation Awit, and Mr. Francis Ray Subong of the Philippine Guidance and Counseling Association.
Ayan. So sa mga bahagi ng ating pag-uusapan, yung katulad po nung sinabi natin kanina, meron tayong resources available on suicide prevention and suicide first aid. We have our hotline and then we have this first aid manual. So pag-usapan po natin, and of course our guidance counselors and as the closest mental health professional in the school for our learners. So pag-usapan po natin paano natin mapapakinabangan ito pagdating sa suicide prevention. Siguro ang una po munang tanong mga Doc and Sir Francis, siguro una po tingnan po natin kung in the first place, kasi we're talking about suicide prevention, para hopeful na tanong po muna, diretsahang tanong, can we really prevent suicides? Kasi there are some mindsets na yun na talaga yung destinasyon niya, yun na yung hangganan ng buhay ng isang tao.
Definitely, suicide is preventable, no? We have to remember na ang suicide kasi siya yung isang end, no, ng mahaba-habang proseso. So, bago magpapatiwa ka ng isang tao, may mga nangyayari. At kung complication yan, therefore, you can actually prevent, no, yung lahat ng pwedeng mangyari leading to this complication.
So, in addition kay sa statement ni Dr. Nadera, yes, suicide is preventable. Sometimes, the cause kasi, basically, in the studies, sinasabi nila that suicide is highly related to mental illness. But there are also kind of suicides na due to poor impulse control or due to impulsivity of a person, especially at this point in time that we are facing crisis. So may ganun din. But we can help. We can prevent suicide.
Sir Francis, would you like?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can prevent suicide. Now, from we look. Now we are, of course, in the school level, for example, dealing with learners. No, siguro we need to look also on the biopsychosocial aspect ng ating mga kabataan and even our clients. No, they have different backgrounds. They have unique needs, wants. Psycho-emotional wounds. So again, it adds up, no? So ang daming factors na we have to consider. And as discussed ng ating mga doctors dito, we need again to look from different perspectives.
Opo. Sir Francis, susugan ko na po yung sinabi niyo kasi may ginamit na kayo na technical term, psycho, bio, social, and then multiple factors. So mga doc and Sir Francis, kasi minsan pag merong nabalitaan na a person dies of suicide, going back, yung sinabi po mga doc ni Sir Francis kanina na bio, psychosocial, minsan kasi if a person dies of suicide, merong naririnig tayo na mga usapan din na ay masyado kasi siyang mahina o kaya kulang kasi siya sa pananampalataya, hindi kasi siya nagpe-pray. And there are various claims on why people die of suicide. Can you shed a light po doon sa tanong na yon? Bakit nga po ba, what are the reasons? Bakit nga po ba nagsisuicide? Why does a person die of suicide? Is there an answer even to that question?
Okay. Si Joy yata, si Agnes yata nahihiya eh. It's of course we always say na the person who died of suicide, siya yung best na makapagsasabi kung bakit nga nangyari ito sa kanya, no. Pero tignan natin sa punto de vista ng risk factors. Okay? Yung mga bagay na pwedeng makakontribute. So meron yung individual factors, merong relationship factors, merong community factors, at merong health system factors. Yung health system factors parang yung sa guidance counselors yan eh. Kung wala ka namang matatakbuhan, then mas mataas yung risk, no, ng suicide. Kung wala kang guidance counselor sa school, okay? So, basically, it's difficult to say exactly kung ano yung dahilan. Pero, malalaman natin kung ano yung mga contributory doon, no? At yung possible trigger. But the main cause, the main reason, it's difficult to pinpoint one. It's always multifactorial.
Okay, so I agree. Actually, right now, kung titingnan natin, yung highest risk factor or that will point a person na talagang magsi-suicide siya or will die of suicide is actually a previous or a history of doing suicidal act. So if may history na siya, so we as nasa school system, so we should be aware of the behavior of our learners. So kung meron the family will tell you that, ma'am, sir, itong anak ko po, dati uminom na siya ng Zonrox or something, or anything na may ginawa na siya. Or for example, itong anak ko po, bigla na po siyang tumatahimik, hindi na siya lumalabas, hindi na namin siya nakakausap. Dati po kasi nag-attempt na siyang magbigti. So, those things are really, really red flags for all of us. As to the other factors kasi, so it means na kailangan din yan ng support. So it's very important that we have support. So first is the family, as I mentioned, kung may nakikita na siya ng family niya, na may ganun na siyang kakaiba na kinikilos at home, or may history nga of suicidal act. So yung family must be aware, and dapat din sinasabi din niya to the teacher, for example, para mabantayan din siya at school, and to provide the necessary support for the kid. And the other support will be coming from, of course, the teacher, and of course, pwede the classmates, and kung sino man ang the guidance counselor, kung meron man at school. Although I understand not all schools, no, meron tayong guidance counselor. If not pa rin, hindi pa rin kaya, then we go to the higher na service providers like our psychologists, psychiatrists, and if in case of emergency or in crisis, our hotlines.
Mhm. Sige po, Doc, ang comprehensive na nung parang mga
Yes.
statements na binibigay natin. Nakakatuwa lang kasi if we listen to that, parang ang in a way parang understandable naman pala yung nangyayari at kaya siyang i-explain that way. Pero himay-himayin lang po natin kasi parang we started talking about risk factors. Maganda po yung parang sinabi ni Doc Dina kanina na only the person who dies by suicide will know the exact trigger, the exact reason, but there are multiple factors. So kung usapang prevention po pala, ibig sabihin, hindi lang po pala ito tungkol sa pag-address sa iniisip nating kaisa-isang reason ng suicide, but we have to look at all those factors.
Yeah.
Opo.
Yes, that's why preventable siya kasi marami ka ring entry points for prevention eh.
Yeah.
But
I think
there are main there are parang may leading ways to prevent. One would be restricting access. Nag-usap na rin lang tayo sa prevention One is restricting access. Of course, the second one is where the guidance counselors are very important, building resilience and well-being. That's the second one. And then the third one, of course, is media. Responsible media reporting is very important. And then the last one, with evidence, they've found out that it's preventive is identification.
Very helpful insights, no? I like kung paano niyo po dinescribe binaligtad yung coin. We see a risk factor. Ay, delikado, mukhang mag-trigger itong sitwasyon na ito na meron ng isang learner, isang teacher, mag-trigger ito ng suicide, mag-trigger ito sa kanya na mag-isip about suicide. But you turn the coin and instead of calling it a risk factor, this time you call it an entry point for prevention.
Yes.
And that's a powerful perspective, Doc. Na hindi lang pala risk factor ito, but if you look at it another way, this is your entry point for prevention. And because there are different entry points, iba-iba rin yung mga, you can't, parang minsan kasi may messianic tendency tayo. We want to solve all those entry points.
Yeah.
Where can we start?
Walang isang taong kakayanin yan. That's why we always say suicide prevention is everybody's business. Kasi it's from an individual to a systems level. Yeah, we start with ourselves. We have to start with the belief that we, with our individual capacity, we can actually help someone who is in a crisis. Alam mo yun, yung parang lagi kong sinasabi is never underestimate your capacity to be a kind and compassionate person. We all have that capacity. We must never underestimate our capacity to help someone who is suffering, who is in a suicide crisis.
And sometimes yun po yung parang nagiging stereotype tuloy sa mental health professionals, no, na parang ay mental health professionals so parang very gentle, very makipag-usap, pero it's really about showing kindness and compassion pala, Doc, practicing that, no.
You start with empathy. You start with empathy. So if someone is going through something, you place yourself in that person's shoes. So you can feel how that person will react to what he is going through.
Yeah. Opo, thank you very much po, Doc. Opo, we were having a very good conversation kanina kasi parang yung comprehensive statement kanina was there are risk factors but you can prevent them. They can be entry points for prevention. And then kapag meron ng signs, pwede mo na ring ma-check yung signal na yun. So ini-isa-isa lang natin ngayon, sir, para sa ating mga viewers sa Facebook, and kung may questions din sila, they can throw in their questions and we can talk about that. But Dr. Dina identified 4 practical areas or entry points for prevention. Ihuli na lang natin siguro po yung access, Doc Dina. Pero you talked about resilience, building resilience. And Sir Francis, ito yung role na meron daw ang guidance counselors. But we understand, sir, ito talagang hindi pwedeng hindi pag-usapan. We understand na limited yung number natin ng guidance counselors sa ngayon. How can we work together siguro in building the resilience of our learners. Kung hindi man ako guidance counselor, if there are other, all the teachers that we have in the school, our very loving teachers, supportive teachers, how can we help in this building of resilience among our learners?
Siguro, Sir Gian, I would like to start with, you could not give what you do not have.
Yeah.
So basically, we should start also with our teachers. Now, yun nga, galing din ako ng DepEd, nasa loob ako ng DepEd. And we also hear that those things din po from our teachers. Yun nga, oftentimes would always look sa ating mga learners. Pero along the process, nakakalimutan na po natin yung ating mga sarili. Okay, so we could not give what we do not have. Now, if in building resilience, of course, we need also life skills. Now, as educators, we need to model these life skills sa kanila. But of course, having these life skills, syempre may hangganan din siya, or parang just like the elasticity, may point of breaking din siya. So, doon papasok sana yung ating programs also na at least mabawasan yung natin yung stress, or we can process ourselves, which also would help prevent the suicide. And of course, aside from that, we need also to promote wellness, to promote good habits and routines para din na at least ma-prevent ang suicide.
Opo. Ang ganda nung sinabi nyo, Sir Francis, kasi as far as DepEd is concerned, meron na tayong mga programs, meron ng homeroom guidance, ongoing ng training and all, development of life skills. But I think that's a very good point na we start with ourselves, and yung self-care is not just really about ourselves per se, but because we know that if we take care of ourselves, then we are able to take care of others and pass on the resilience. Doc Dina, you would like to add something, or Doc Joy?
I agree with yung sinabi ni Sir Francis, kasi it's about kanina yung dinagdag mo na we take care of ourselves because we cannot pour nga from an empty cup, and it's something kasi that will radiate. So it's something that intrapersonal, and then we go interpersonal. So if we take care of ourselves, and we will be able to take care of others better.
Ayan, opo. Thank you very much po, Doc. Let's go back po dun sa 4 starting. Kasi, Doc Dina, parang you provided the framework na on how this conversation will proceed. So these are the risk factors, maraming iba-ibang possible reasons, but they are entry points for prevention. And 4 specific strategies that you mentioned, yung isa na nga, yung una is resilience. So it's really developing life skills among our learners. Yung sinabi ni Sir Francis, adults modeling it for them from in their homes, in the schools. The second thing that you talked about earlier was media. So, Doc Dina, can you share a bit about this?
Ang isa kasing preventive measure is responsible media reporting. No? Of course, this is a health issue. Media definitely is going to be a big help, no? Dito sa pag-address ng health issue na to. Kaya lang kasi it has to be responsibly handled. By responsible media handling, what we mean is we report facts, but we report probably an event, pero once lang, tama na yung isa. Huwag mo nang paulit-ulit. It cannot run forever and ever. And then whenever a suicide event is reported, what has to be highlighted is the fact that this suicide, first, i-highlight yung, okay, what was actually lost, and how can this be prevented? And what can the readers do if they or someone they know is actually in a similar situation? So mas siya dun sa possibility that something can actually be done dito sa event na to. We also must not sensationalize sensationalize suicide deaths, no? So yung headline siya, yung ginagawan siya ng kakaibang caption, no? That is very dangerous sa youth. No, it can actually promote copycat suicide.
All right. So Doc, halimbawa kasi so this is kung may nanonood sa atin na partners natin from the media, I believe there are efforts din naman to educate our media partners in reporting about suicide. Pero siguro po sa majority ng ating mga nanonood, let's talk about us being citizen journalists, like everyone feels like they report about something. So yung sinabi nyo kanina, Doc, wag paulit-ulitin yung incident. Wag, halimbawa, let's say there is an actual incident. How do I as a person talk about it? Like,
Yeah.
So again, we kasi 'di ba syempre yung maraming tao na gustong nakakaalam about what happened. And especially
Yeah.
if like right now, we have the Facebook, we have social media, and we post everything on social media.
Yeah.
Tapos 'di ba as in gross, yung nakikita mo talaga kung ano yung actually nangyari. So sometimes it will trigger sa other people then. Yun nga, it's copycat suicide. And sometimes it will trigger na maiisip nila, pwede ko palang gawin yun. So that's why people will do those things din. So for us, especially for parents na, di ba supposedly we have parental guidance. So the parents should be aware that there is something going on or may recent na death by suicide. So yung dapat ini-explain din ng parent to the child na ito yung suicide, and then you tell the child if kung may problema ba siya na saying with that person who died by suicide, and then of course you have to explain that if you need anything, we are here to support you, or there are other people who's gonna be supporting you, your teachers, your classmates. And siguro yung kasi the media right now, it's not just media, that the traditional na media, the print and yung sa TV, but what's more na nakakatakot is the social media, kasi sila yung unfiltered, sila yung hindi natin masyadong, so sila yon. So I think it's also the role of the parents and the teachers talaga na to guide their children and to explain to the children or to the learners ano yung nangyari. So it's okay to talk about it na open. You can talk about it in class if there's an event na close to home or nasa sa campus, it's okay to talk about it. But make sure na ang pag-uusapan nyo that help is available, that suicide actually is preventable. So yun.
In addition lang, Gian, when we talk of responsible media reporting, we are not limiting our discussion to suicide events, to deaths. We also need to do a lot of campaigns for surviving suicide. So kunyari, ano ba to? Magpe-press release ka ba dahil World Suicide Prevention Day or dahil may namatay? Hindi eh. You have to, responsible media reporting will say means that you talk about suicide dun sa angle na this person survived it. Okay? So kahit na wala namang event, we talk about survival stories, success stories in prevention. That is also responsible media reporting.
Oh my God, looking back in the past, let's say, years of my life, all discussions about suicide happen when there is already an incident na someone dies of suicide. Pero yung sinabi ninyo, we can normalize talking about it, but in the angle of it's survivable, it can be prevented, and there are actual people who have survived suicide.
Yeah.
Sir Francis, Doc and Doc Joy or Doc Agnes and Doc Dina, kasi parang pupunta sana tayo dun sa later part pa pero nandito na tayo sa discussion na talking to learners, talking to your kids about suicide. Some teachers maybe, or some parents, or maybe siguro kahit yung mga friends, mga learners natin na nanonood ngayon are not very comfortable kasi feeling nila baka lalong gawin, baka lalong magka-idea, or baka ako pa yung nag-push dahil pinag-usapan namin. So may ganong fear, or I just really don't know what to say, or baka parang sabihin nagbibiro lang. Can you give some practical tips? Let's say for isa-isa siguro learners and kung paano pag-usapan ng suicide, and then how we talk about it on our own social media, and then for our teachers, adults and parents. Pwede po
siguro, yes.
Answer.
Okay, sige, pasadahan ko muna. In connection with the social media, actually, this is yun nga sinasabi natin, aside from the suicide, unfiltered siya, the photos and even the stories, sensationalize, parang very graphic pa yung yung pag-report, especially sa local stations dito, for example dito sa amin sa provinces, ganun pa. And well, as part of my advocacy then, from time to time, I either I'll text them or I'll call them, sabihin, can you please, and request them, or even up to the point na appealing, please blur your photos of a suicide. Yeah, kasi ayan, unfiltered eh. Especially sa ating learners, sa adolescents, usually they would yung time nila is with the social media eh. That's part of their socialization, and at their age, no, they should socialize, and one of the platforms na nila na ginagamit is of course the social media platforms. Now, if unfiltered to, we need also to check, kasi baka tayo din mismo yung yung nag-share ng ganitong unfiltered na mga photos or stories. Sa ating as parents siguro, yes, there's a need na to discuss this one. But also we need to look from the moral side, because well, pag pumasok yung different beliefs natin, baka may magkabanggaan din eh. But then again, we look this from a perspective na syempre there is something happening in us. It's a collective, kumbaga nagkapatong-patong na yan, hindi lang na-address, and may trigger in some way, or in one way or another. So well, it's quite sensitive, but syempre we need to start addressing this kind of situation in order to prevent it also.
Thank you, Sir Francis. Doc Joy or Doc Tina?
I think naman talaga na we have to choose our language na age appropriate, especially for our learners. Kasi for example, the kindergarten, so what do they know about death? So they don't have siguro pa the perception, or they don't have the idea that death is permanent. Because according to sa natural na development of a person, of a child, talagang wala pa sila sa age that they understand the permanence of death. So we use appropriate language to talk about it. If there is an event of there's a suicide in the campus, or in the community, and then we also have to i-level natin sa kanila kung ano yung naiintindihan nila, and we have to actually deal with, pag-usapan natin ano kaya yung nagiging reason for that person. Like for example, we have to explain that this person has been, for example, if that person has been mentally ill talaga, or diagnosed with depression, which is most common for those who died by suicide. So we need to explain to the kids kung nakakaintindi na sila. But for those na children na younger, na hindi pa naman sila nakakaintindi, so I don't think that we really have to explain to them what suicide is, or we don't have to tell them that it's, kasi minsan din kasi ginagamit the parents, huwag niyong gawin yan kasi masama yan. You will be punished by God. So syempre it's gonna create something na sa mga bata. So we don't use that to explain, because hindi naman siya totoo. So we don't know, 'di ba? Kasi it's a mental illness. So it's a disorder for cause. So we don't say na you will be punished by God if you die by suicide, if you do something similar to that to what that person did. So we have to avoid those things.
Yeah. Well, in addition na lang siguro, when people want to talk about suicide, then we talk to them about it. Kasi mararamdaman mo naman kung ready din sila to talk about it. Pero, all of us, any community member, parents, teachers, guidance counselors, even security guards, even janitors and janitors, kapag may nagpahiwatig, we must be comfortable talking about it. Tahasan nating tatanungin, people in difficult situations like you, sometimes they no longer have reasons to live. Do you feel this way also? There are ways to ask them in a non-judgmental manner. But we need to talk about it, and I'm really thankful to that we are talking about it in this light.
Doc, punta na po tayo dun sa maganda yung actually thank you po dun sa mga practical tips, no, like pagiging age appropriate ng language, knowing yung level na ma-understand. Pero Doc Dina, gusto ko po yung sinabi ninyo na pag merong nagpapahiwatig. Yan. So siguro, kasi yung fourth point po ninyo kanina, so tapos na tayo sa resilience, media, portrayal, and then reporting of cases, how we talk about cases. Yung sinabi nyo kanina is about restricting access. This is already about the means.
Yes. So.
Would you like to elaborate on that, Doc? Kasi ang next question ko na is, yun na, yung part na pagpapahiwatig.
Yeah. Well, yun nga, tayo kasi nagpapahiwatig tayo. Ang mga Pinoy ganun eh. Hindi diretso nagsasabi kahit nga gusto mo na, sabi mo na, hindi, ayoko, di ba? Pero if we are sensitive enough, we can actually gauge, no, kung ano talaga yung nararamdaman ng isang tao. Well, there are warning signs of suicide, no? And well, to be honest, kahit na siguro lahat ng warning signs nakita na natin at lahat ginawa na natin, sometimes it happens, no? Na meron pa rin namamatay dahil sa suicide, but that does not mean that it's not preventable at all. So, yung pahiwatig would be the warning signs, no? The red flags. People start to isolate, pero iba-iba kasi. Sa mga bata, lalo na, iba yung presentation, no? So, hindi naman lahat iiyak-iyak, hindi naman lahat parang wala nangyari. Iba-iba. Depende dun sa tao. But common would be serious change in mood or behavior, no, isolation. These are actually early warning signs, no, talking about death. And
sorry, for those isolation na part, if I have always been a loner all my life, and I stayed a loner, pero yung isolation po na yun ba yung parang bigla na lang naging loner, so to speak? Okay.
Yes, but even if you are a loner kasi meron ka pa rin kasama, like you probably are close to one person or to the family members, diba? And then you suddenly cut off, no? So these are common signs, no? These are the warning signs. And yung nabanggit nga ni Doc kanina na, you know, depression is actually one of the mental health conditions that may lead to suicide. Yun din, no? Yung signs din ng depression. So, to answer your question na paano mo in relation to restricting access, kung alam mo na meron siyang ganun, meron siyang depression, and there could be means, actually, may nasasabi siya na paraan, then we have to make sure that wala siyang access sa mga paraan na yun.
Doc, is it okay to be specific about it? I mean, kasi for example, you know that the person is taking meds, so you will really be fear na let me handle your meds, ganon.
Yes, we do
to that extent.
Yes, we do that to many students. We talk to the students and we tell them, I am concerned that you might actually take the meds because you mentioned, you know, that you have that tendency or you've done it before. Is it okay if I call somebody and tell them that you have a prescription? Or can I email this prescription to your father or to your mother, whoever is the supporter? Kasi sa mental health law, meron na tayong ina-appoint na supporter, no, for any mental health client. So that one is preventing access.
Okay, so it's really yung parang practical na on the side na, especially if you already saw signs, warning signs yung ginamit niyo po kanina. I like yung sinabi niyo po, Doc, na iba-iba ang representation per person. Merong masaya pa rin and then hindi mo napansin. Meron namang biglang lumungkot. Pero there are, yung common, parang sabi niyo po, there's something common among them. And one of that is the person really talking about the plan already. And sometimes
that's not actually common, but that is possible.
That is possible. Okay, so some will not, but if someone does, meron ako naririnig, Doc, and siguro pwede rin po itong masagot nating guidance counselor or ng ating mental health crisis hotline na nakaka-receive ng actual calls. There is a belief that if a person already talks about suicide, it's likely daw na, ay, buti sinasabi niya. Ibig sabihin niyan, hindi niya itutuloy.
Actually, there's also one thing that I want to discuss, and good thing na na-bring up mo yan, Gian. There's, apart from suicide, there's also another term, yung self-harm. These are especially the teenagers or the younger kids na sinasaktan yung sarili. Some of them, although it's really very sinasabi nga na for lang siya, no, attention seeking, but for us, for mental health practitioners or professionals, we do take it seriously. So if someone says na I'm gonna kill myself, I'm gonna use my medication, I'm gonna go mag-overdose ako, then we believe that person. So we really have to, we believe na gagawin niya. Kesa sa it's kung hindi mo siya papaniwalaan, it might be too late. So nasaan na yung prevention natin? So it's better to act na we believe na gagawin niya until proven otherwise, based on our own assessment, clinical assessment.
Yes, tama po yung sinasabi ni Doc Agnes, no. We need to seryosohin natin talaga yung pag sinabi niyang magpapakamatay ako. Definitely, whether it's a joke or not, we should have that sensitivity na talagang it's a matter of life and death, kumbaga. So, kasi sa atin, baka, yun nga, lang yan, arte lang yan, drama lang, chos lang yan, parang ganun ba? But again, if it becomes a habit, we will, hindi na natin malalaman if talagang, again, totoo ba to or not? And again, yung suicide prevention. And of course, yung sinabi ni Doc, yung sa NSSI, yung non-suicidal self-injury, yes, usually marami yan sa ating adolescents. And for example, as a teacher, if you're sensitive enough, yan, titingnan mo na yan. Kasi dati, syempre, nasa wrists yan. May may bandana, may panyo. But eventually, alam na nila kung saan itatago yan, under their skirts or their pants and so on. So for our educators, for our parents, we need also to look on that aspect, ang NSSI or yung non-suicidal self-injury po.
Many would do cut no sa NSSI. So restricting access will also mean making sure na wala silang anything to cut themselves with. So yan yung mga paraan. And then restricting access will also mean you have better designs ng mga buildings mo. So that there's no dangerous part, no, dun sa building mo. May overhang siguro yan. So that if it's from one floor down, sasabit siya. Hindi na pwede yung mga designs na katulad dati, no? Maraming, as I said, it's an entire system.
Opo. Doc, na-appreciate ko yung flow ng conversation natin. I initially plotted questions pero parang mas maganda naging natural yung flow natin. We started with if suicide can be prevented, there are multiple factors that contribute. There's no single reason, and if there is, it's only the person who dies by suicide who can tell us that. But these risk factors are, kung i-reverse natin siya, they are actually entry points for prevention. And we can address those factors through different means. And it's a community effort. Hindi siya effort lang ni guidance counselor, hindi siya effort lang ng psychiatrists, hindi siya effort lang ng teachers, ng mental health professionals. Everyone can contribute to the prevention of suicide. And then we talk about the signs that a person may be suicidal or may be already thinking about suicide, na iba-iba siya ng representation per person, pero it will be obvious, especially if you are always with the person, makikita mo yung change, yung dramatic change, and there are possible then na some will even talk about a plan. And then sabi niyo po kanina, when we begin to see these signs already, we can freely approach this person with empathy, without judgment, and we can plainly ask, are you really thinking about it? Are you planning? And if they say yes, yung maganda yung sinabi niyo po kanina na any thought of suicide must be taken seriously. Hindi siya, kahit mukha siyang joke, we always think that it's serious and that they're really considering it. And then yung how we can keep the person safe. Nagbigay kayo po ng practical aspects. How do we restrict access doon sa means through which the person can die of suicide? Where does professional help come in?
Well, you keep the person safe. No, you hear somebody is in a suicide crisis. You must make sure that this person is in a safe place, safe environment, nothing na ma-access niya to actually hurt himself or herself. Now, how about professional help? Okay, so the professional help will depend actually, no? Kung alam natin na meron na siyang mental health condition that predispose this person to hurt himself or herself, then mental health consultations can actually be done. We have to ask this person, how do you want to be helped? Do you want me to talk to someone? Do you want me to connect you to a guidance counselor? Do you want me to connect you to a psychologist? And then we have to admit ourselves din. Kunyari, ikaw, nanay, sabihin mo, sa totoo lang, hindi ko na alam kung anong gagawin ko. Gusto mo ba na humingi tayo ng tulong? Kanino mo gustong humingi ng tulong? Yon. And then actually that jump starts that conversation in asking help. Kahit anong help, sa pare, sa pastor, as long as help is sought. Okay? Mental health worker, maybe the barangay health worker, I don't know, a trusted person. Basta you need to jumpstart that conversation that help is available.
Mm-hmm. And maybe dito na rin po pumapasok yung ating crisis line, Doc.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Actually, the crisis hotline is just one of the efforts of the government. For suicide prevention. Pero yun nga, lahat tayo, pwede tayong tumulong. We can prevent suicide. So yung nandun ka na sa dulo, yun na yung part that you need help na if someone is really in crisis, na on the brink siya talaga of suicide, then there's help. Pwede mong tawagan. But in the crisis hotline kasi, will since nandito siya sa Metro Manila, so although it's available, anyone in the Philippines or outside of the Philippines can call. Pero kasi, syempre, ano lang siya, crisis hotline, we will help the person who is attending to the crisis. We may also refer the person in crisis to a nearest na provider, the service provider for support. So ganun ang ginagawa ng crisis hotline. But then at the end of the day, kung saan siya pinakamalapit at saan siya most comfortable, dun mo siya dadalhin. Unless of course if there's another mental condition, like for example a psychosis, so syempre the person himself or herself cannot decide na for himself. So that's when we need somebody else to decide for the person.
Of course, from the end of guidance counselors, especially in schools, yung isang concern namin, syempre, kakaunti lang guidance counselors. However, okay, from the practical point of view, syempre, pag mga ganito, especially yung suicide plus may underlying psychological or clinical na aspect, then we have to refer that to a higher professional. Because of course that's beyond our capacity as counselors. We can identify in one way or another, but it's beyond ng aming practice. Syempre, as counselors, yung magagawa namin is on the promotion and the prevention side, and of course on the aftercare. In case na, for example, yung isang learner natin or isang teacher natin may history na of attempted suicide, for example, then your mental health professionals, alam din nila so that they can help. Kumbaga, at least, for example, sa learner, the counselor can talk with the teacher or the teachers, for example, na some things should be given or may mga considerations na we have to take. Especially, of course, yung support, kailangan din ng learner. So, as an aftercare, bridging from yung naranasan niya, then pagbalik niya sa school, that's where also counselors and of course our teachers can help.
Sir, ang maganda yung sinabi niyo po, no, na meron talagang delineation ng role. At maganda rin yung sinabi ni Dr. Dina kanina na at least jumpstart yung help. Kung kanino willing magpatulong just to jumpstart. Pero ang maganda sa atin sa DepEd, Sir Francis, is our teachers are being trained on homeroom guidance. So kahit papaano meron tayo dong mental health topics, I understand. And then meron tayong PFA
Yes.
psychological first aid providers trained through our mental health and psychosocial support services program led by the DRRMS. So we have these people already. Parang gusto ko lang i-address sana ngayon, sir, yung sa guidance counselor kasi meron pa bang mindset? Kasi ang nagiging viral sa Facebook yung idea na ay maga-guidance ka. So ang tipong nag-guidance yung mga nagmi-misbehave na mga estudyante as parang punishment. At i-stretch ko na rin po, no, pagdating naman sa, for example, magpapacheck up sa psychologist or psychiatrist, meron ding mindset na, ay bakit? Meron, ganito ba siya or merong label agad and meron agad mga attached stigma.
Yeah,
so
stigma,
how do we encourage our viewers right now to seek help amid all those misconceptions about the mental health professional?
Yes, thank you so much, Sir Gian, for that points. No, now, of course, with the mental health law, siguro, yeah, we have mental health professionals, but again, when it comes to mental health, it should be a whole of the systems approach, and of course, papasok din yung ating community-based approach, no. And of course, yung mga mental health professionals, merong tiering din. Oh. So, sa amin, sa guidance counselors, we have limitations. If it's beyond our capacity as counselors, we then refer that to an appropriate professional, either psychiatrist or psychologist or sa ating mga social workers when it comes to abuse and sa kanilang practice, no. Pero syempre, from our end, we still have that stigma na yung guidance counselors are disciplinarians. And right now, of course, on behalf of the BGCA, what we're doing right now is intensified advocacy. We advocate na ito yung practice of guidance and counseling na, of course, part of our services are nasa mental health and the other part nasa career guidance or on the career development. So actually that's the gist of the practice of guidance and counseling. And of course,
so sir, yung traditional mindset na discipline officer, na taga-parusa, we are already gearing away from that old views of the guidance counselor.
Yes, hindi po 'yon. That's the reason